So, dear representatives of the HITS Foundation, KIT, Heidelberg University, Klaus Tschira Foundation, HITS and HIGIT, dear organizers of today's symposium, ladies and gentlemen, but above all, of course, dear Wilfried. It's an honor for me to pay tribute today to Wilfried Juling's achievement for HITS and the HITS Foundation in this inspiring setting today. I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers of today's symposium on artificial intelligence at HITS for this opportunity. Tilman Gneiting and Gesa Schönberger can confirm that when I was asked last fall whether I would find words of appreciation for Wilfried Juling today, I responded with full confidence and without hesitation, saying yes, gladly and a lot. As we all know, there are such and such laudatory speeches. Some farewell gestures are primarily a matter of formality, tradition, or obligation to preserve a certain appearance when bidding farewell to a distinguished personality. Others, however, come from the bottom of our hearts and are born of grateful appreciation. This is the case today. Wilfried Juling served as a board member of the HITS Foundation from 2015 to 2023. So that is the longest period in the foundation's history. In 2014, Klaus Tschira had established the HITS Foundation to provide long-term stability for HITS, which had been founded 4 years prior. Together with Andreas Reuter, Klaus Tschira also formed the foundation's first board of directors. However, as we all know, he was unable to witness the first anniversary of the HITS Foundation, and his place on the board had to be taken by a new member. Andreas Reuter proposed to the Board of Trustees that one of the most distinguished experts in high-performance computing and IT infrastructure in Germany be appointed as Klaus Tschira's successor, as well as a person of trust who is also very experienced in strategy and management issues. You know who I'm talking about, Wilfried Juling. A mathematician by training, Wilfried had already held initial responsibility for the highly dynamic and strategically important field of high-performance computing at RWTH Aachen in the 1980s. In 1992, he became a professor for super and parallel computing at Rostock University, where he established and led the University Computing Center. In 1998, he was appointed as the director of the Computing Center at Karlsruhe University and as the chair for Computer Systems and Infrastructure of Information Processing at the Department of Informatics there. In 2008, he became executive director of the Steinbuch Center for Computing at the newly formed Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. In this capacity, Wilfried also had personal involvement with Klaus Tschira. He played a role in the project to donate a new building for informatics in Karlsruhe. This plan actually materialized many years later. The Informatikum, which was donated by KTS and opened at KIT last fall, was born out of this initial idea. The second founding father of HITS, Andreas Reuter, and Wilfried Juling knew each other from their shared commitment to the board of Germany's National Research and Education Network, DFN, as whose CEO Wilfried Juling served for several years. Thus, Andreas Reuter knew exactly what he was dooming HITS with his vote for Wilfried Juling. I think today is the day to thank Andreas Reuter for this vote in the name of all those gathered here and in front of the screens. With Wilfried Juling, you have gained a highly competent and outstanding personality for the benefit of HITS. But Wilfried Juling's contributions to HITS go back long before his appointment to the HITS Foundation in 2015. Even before the foundation was established, he had already negotiated HITS-related issues with Andreas Reuter, Klaus Tschira, and representatives of the Rectorate of Heidelberg University as a representative of the KIT president. As is well known, Klaus Tschira very consciously sought to create the structure with the two universities for the benefit of HITS, a research institute supported not only by a large foundation, but also by two renowned, even excellent universities. Among other things, Wilfried Juling was already involved in the important appointment of Alexandros Stamatakis as group leader scientific computing at HITS. What did not succeed, at least not in the first step, was the establishment of a scientific triangular cooperation between HITS, the University of Heidelberg, and KIT in the field of data visualization, which Wilfried Juling pursued with great passion. KIT already had the hardware for this, and the HITS group leader was to be appointed to the University of Heidelberg via the Department of Mathematics. However, the candidate rejected the offer and the whole project failed, much to the regret of both Wilfried Juling and Andreas Reuter. But Wilfried Juling would not have been himself if he had not taken this failure as an incentive to realize the idea of triangular cooperation in a different way. In the form of simplex, we've heard it already twice, the result is something that is not only good for HITS, but also for the two universities. The current board of the HITS Foundation, Raphael Lang, Dieter Kranzemüller, and myself are looking forward to the results of the first evaluation at the end of this year. I myself have known Wilfried Juling since 2013, when I was a newly appointed professor for science communication and science studies at KIT, and he chaired another appointment committee for my area of expertise there, which turned out to be tricky and quite controversial. I think one can say that. At that time, I experienced Wilfried as a committee chair who always remained calm, even when things got very heated, who had a moderating effect on all the hotheads in the room, and who brought the whole process to a successful end in an authoritative but polite manner. As a newcomer to the appointment business, I was hugely impressed by his way of conducting negotiations. Highly focused, even tenacious, and at the same time holding together the centrifugal forces that were driving people apart. 7 years later, I had the privilege of working very closely together with Wilfried Juling, operationally and sometimes even on a daily basis, when I was appointed to the HITS Foundation's board as Andreas Reuter's successor 4 years ago. And from this experience, I can assure you all, working with Wilfried Juling is a real pleasure. You can trust each other and get really a lot done. We both quickly agreed that there were two major important tasks for us. One related to the representatives of the two universities may smile now, big HITS. The other to the small HIGIT, the Heidelberg Institute for Geoinformation Technology, at that time only a project with a 3-year term, but which, like HITS, was institutionally constituted as a non-profit company with the HITS Foundation as the sole shareholder. So what were those two big tasks that Wilfried and I tackled with one voice and a lot of shared motivation? Let's stay with HITS first. Following the death of Klaus Tschira and the retirement of founding director Andreas Reuter from the HITS Foundation board, we had to ensure that HITS would continue to take care of the long-term scientific strategy of the entire institute. In our view, this required a strengthening of the role of the scientific director, more flexible criteria for the election of scientific directors, and a direct bridge from the SAB to the shareholders' assembly. In other words, we saw it as our duty to ensure that the strategic engine of HITS continued to hum at the highest level, even after the era of the two central founding fathers of HITS. We were also prepared to invest in this, for example, in the form of a new position for a scientific manager to support the scientific director. Furthermore, we agreed that we did not want to prescribe structures developed by ourselves and approved by the co-shareholders, but that we wanted to shape a discursive participatory process to establish new internal and external governance structures at HITS, after the founding period of HITS had finally ended. The founder family and the co-shareholders gave us the mandate to develop this, and we subsequently pursued this mandate very persistently with all relevant status groups and individuals in countless workshops, Zoom calls, and one-on-one meetings from the end of 2020 to 2022. Having Wilfried Juling on board as the grand seigneur of governance, with his experience, calmness, and persuasiveness, was a blessing in disguise for this complex, even audacious undertaking, not to try to rule through, but to talk to each other and achieve the best possible results, supported, hopefully, by everyone. In order to give outsiders even a vague impression of our endeavor, I will just list the various status groups that we took repeatedly into account in various rounds with their different interests. HITS Shareholders Assembly, HITS Foundation's Board of Trustees, Klaus Tschira Foundation, the Family Office, HITS Managing Director, Gesa, HITS Scientific Director, Frauke Greta at this time. Greetings go out, Frauke. HITS Group Leaders, of course, HITS SAB, and several external experts, for example, for corporate law. Yeah, guess what? It was intensive and exhausting, especially since there was also the second major project, deciding what to do with HIGIT after the initial 3-year funding period. To cut a long story short here, Wilfried and I immediately agreed that HIGIT had a purpose and potential in the field of applied geoinformation technology that would remain relevant far beyond the initial funding period. In my regular discussions with the scientific director, Alexander Zipf, it became clear to me that in addition to HIGIT's focus on humanitarian disaster aid, there was also strategic potential in a second emergent field of activity, climate action. The first task, however, was to find evidence that HIGIT as an institution deserved a clear option for long-term support. To this end, Wilfried and I carried out an evaluation by international experts, wrote a comprehensive letter of recommendation for further institutional funding to KTS based on the results, which was very well received, installed an advisory board, had project ideas for the new field of climate action by Alexander Zipf and his colleagues evaluated by external experts and the new advisory board, and finally ensured the expansion of HIGIT in 2 strategic fields, humanitarian aid and climate action. And as in the case of HITS governance, Wilfried Juling can attest to this mission very successfully accomplished. So this was my short preface. Let me now come to the heart of my laudation. I was able to get to know Wilfried Juling very closely and learn from him during 2 lengthy strategy processes. That's why I can now conclude my tribute by describing him as he is and how he works so that he will blush a little. Yes, dear Wilfried, unfortunately, you have to go through this now. I know it's hard for you, but this is the price you have to pay for your outstanding work that you have done for the HITS Foundation. I'm at the mic here, you are forced to listen passively. In Latin, that's the suffering form. So what kind of guy is Wilfried Juling? I don't think I'm springing any unexpected surprises here. He is always concerned with the matter at hand, for which he is prepared to wrestle passionately and for which he uses arguments rather than sentiments as others do. When he makes a decision, he is always keen to make his reasons transparent, even comprehensible. Categorizing people is not his thing. His clear view of the world is differentiating. Black and white thinking is alien to him. And don't worry, even if he is crystal clear on a point, he's always open to the better argument. He is capable of convincing himself and others. In this respect, he is a real people catcher. He's engaging, he's approachable, he's quick. If necessary, he will always go the extra mile or two. He's focused, well organized, has the big picture, and always has all relevant protocols and documents at hand that others start hectically searching for. This is especially helpful when his counterparts are wondering what has been already approved by whom and what has not. He's approachable and empathetic. He's reliable and has always acted loyally to the will of the founder, and never in a partisan way for KIT, as that was not his role in the HITS Foundation. For me, dear Wilfried, you have always been a role model, and over time you have become an advisor and, yes, a true friend. I'm very thankful for that. Dear Wilfried, I've never enjoyed working at Schloss Wolfsbrunnenweg more than I did with you. I learned a lot, even this, as you can see. Wearing a tie is by no means out of fashion. It's a shame that you're now retiring just now as you reach the right age to become US president. All jokes aside, for the time after HITS Foundation, which in practice has already begun for you and for your dear wife Rita, I wish you both the continued unclouded happiness of being passionate grandparents, physical fitness, for instance, to be a serious sparring partner for your grandsons when playing soccer together, more and more distance from the Carmody marathon of a sought-after retired professor, good health, and many wonderful moments, whether as a couple at home, together with friends, or on wonderful vacations. The fate of the HITS Foundation now rests on other shoulders, and you have also made a responsible contribution to this. So you can relax and see what happens with HITS and HIGIT. You have brought all projects to a very successful end, and we all here would like to thank you once again for this.